How do I know? Verse 14. And he arose and took the child and his mother by night and departed for Egypt. Correct. And departed for Egypt. So this was a fulfillment of the prophecy in the book of Hosea, and was there until the death of Herod, that which was spoken by the Lord through the prophet might be fulfilled, saying, Out of Egypt did I call my son. So this is also a prophecy which is fulfilled. So the Bible is true in the sense that it fulfilled the prophecy which was spoken of many, many years ago, and today it is fulfilled by the prophet Hosea 11 verse 1. When Israel was a youth, I loved him. Out of Egypt I called my son. Taken from Hosea. So he was obedient, and also he followed the commandment of God. What did he do? He circumcised his son the 8th day. Correct? He has his son circumcised according to the law. According to the law. This is spoken of in Luke chapter 2 verse 21. When was Jesus circumcised? Jesus was circumcised on the 8th day. On the 8th day. Is this circumcision important? To the Jew, it is very important day. It is very important. You see, a child was born, and on the 8 days, they have to perform this circumcision. And this is spoken of in the book of Old Testament. In the Old Testament, that this is what do you call that? The Abraham and the covenant of circumcision with God. And usually on the 8th day, his name was called Jesus. This was also what happened with John. On the 8th day, he was also circumcised. If you look at the account of John the Baptist, he was also circumcised. So every male Jew must be circumcised the 8th day. Just like Chinese, they also have a certain tradition. Some of the Chinese, after 1 month, I think, they cut their hair of the child, is it? To cleanse, to purify. It's also the same idea, is it? To purify. So this was the tradition that was taken out by the Jews. And what is the background of this? Let's turn to the Genesis chapter 17 to look just briefly at the Genesis where Abraham, with the covenant of, where God made a covenant with Abraham. He says, you who are Jews need to be circumcised. So circumcision is to show that you are God's people. Chapter 17 verse 12 says that every male among you who is 8 days old shall be circumcised throughout your generation. Every male child shall be circumcised. So it is a covenant with God of this circumcision. This is very important to the Jew. And why was Christ then circumcised? Because Christ was born under the law. That's why he also followed the Jewish law. How do I know? Galatians chapter 4 verse 4. Turn to Galatians chapter 4 verse 4. What did Paul say? That he was, in the fullness of time was come, God brought forth a son. When the fullness of time was come, God sent forth his son, born of a woman, born under the law. So Jesus was born and he died and lived under the law of Moses, the old law. See, that's why he followed. He did not break the law. Jesus came to fulfill the law. Every law of God was fulfilled, and the law was nailed to the cross when Jesus died. bread, and I testify in Galatians chapter 5, it says, and testify again to every man who receives circumcision that he is under obligation to keep the whole law. See, that was the days of Moses. They have to keep the law. So the verse 22 talks about the purification, the days of purification of the male child. Is the, if you look in the history in the Old Testament, in Leviticus, you can see in chapter 12, is the 33 days after what was termed the 7 days of uncleanness. So they have 40 days after the birth of a male child to purify themselves. So they have 40 days, some kind of a confinement. They have 2 days of purification. They have 40 days in all for a male child. For a female child is 66 days. They follow this. So what happened after that is they give in verse 24, this is what happened is they give a pair of turtle doves or a pair of pigeons. This is the meaning that they want to cleanse themselves, and this is the offering they give. They have to bring a pair of turtle doves or pigeons. So the rich people were required to bring a lamb. Jesus was under the poor class, the middle class, and he only bring a pair of turtle doves. That's what Joseph presented. If you look carefully, that when Jesus was presented at the temple, they brought forth the pair of turtle doves or 2 young pigeons. This is what we can learn, that at 12 years old, to the Jews, they are grown up. They are supposed to be adult already at 12 years old. So they have to perform this. So every year, Joseph will go to observe the Passover feast. You know, the Passover feast was observed to commemorate in the time of the angel, in the time of captivity, when Israel was in Egypt, then they were in bondage. So God sent all the plagues. They do not want to respond. So what happened is the last plague, they have to kill the firstborn. And even the firstborn of the Pharaoh was killed. And when this happened, they chased away the Israel. Get out of Egypt. Get out of Egypt. So there was a Passover. What is this Passover? That the angel will pass over by night. And then they kill all the firstborn. So because of this, so those who are of the Israel people, of God's people, they have to put the blood on the doorpost so that they will bypass that house. They will all bypass. So it's called Passover feast. Passover feast. So this is what they were celebrating. The Jews, they have this Passover feast every year. So this is, they travel. So at this time, they were traveling to Jerusalem for the Passover feast. And his parents used to go to Jerusalem every year at the feast of the Passover. Yes, they celebrate that. So they were very obedient and they always followed the tradition. And also they were very lawful in the sense that he gladly paid his taxes. As the census was, in Luke chapter 2, there was a decree that they need to go back to their hometown for the census. For the world to be taxed, that all the world should be taxed. Some of the versions say all the empire should be taxed. This is the Roman Empire. So they also pay their taxes to the oppressive Romans, even at great convenience to himself and family. He trusted God and faithfully served him. So another portion which I want to look at is he is a devoted husband. You see, he was talking about Mary. Mary actually was a virgin. Is a virgin. is betrothed. What it means betrothed to marry? He understands marriage to be honorable way for a man and a woman to live together. He wanted chaste and pure bride for a wife. So when he learned that she was pregnant, what did he do? What did Joseph do? He wanted to put her privately. Why? He do not want to make a public shame of Mary. That shows that he is a compassionate person.